better way to celebrate Father Energy and Father's Day today than to celebrate being a force for good? A force for good in our families, in our communities, and in the world. Judy and I are so excited to be with you today. And yes, this is our last Sunday to be here. You'll hear a little bit more about that as we matriculate through this service. We actually have a few more persons in our sanctuary this morning, and our desire is to shower you with what one of our board members, who is no longer in the physical body, Ken Goins, used to call our M3, M to the third power magic that happens here every Sunday morning. Music, meditation, and message. So I would say that each of those things holds an equal role in what Judy and I have attempted to ripple out from this spiritual community. And so to begin, let's hear some of the magical music from Unity Unleashed. so as I told the praise and worship team and voices, I have a lot to say this morning. So in 3 hours, we'll know. But it took me 2 weeks to decide what in the world do I want to say the last time I'm up here. And what in the world do we want to sing the last time we're up here. So just bear with us, because yes, we have a lot of music. Unity of Music City, wouldn't we have a lot of music? But the first thing you'll see up here is a picture about change. Leo Buscaglia said, change, it has the power to uplift, to heal, to stimulate, surprise, open new doors, bring fresh experience, and create excitement in life. Certainly, it is worth the risk. And so this man, on Father's Day, is the father of unity, Charles Fillmore. He was the one that started all this. He started the ideas of knowing that if you think a new thought, you'll have a different experience. New thought is not what a lot of people think. They think it's new thoughts that, have never been thought before. Really and truly, new thought is only just you in the middle of the caca deciding, I'm going to have another thought. A new thought that is going to shift all of this, and something different is going to happen. So what better way than today to be thankful to this one person who began this whole movement along with his wife, Myrtle. And so you see, a father is not really an anchor to hold us back from anything. It's not a sail to take us anywhere, but a guiding light whose love can show us the way moving forward. And so I would be amiss not to say this has been an interesting year. But we were told this was going to happen. We just don't think we were told. Anybody remember 2012? And we were told that that was going to be the end of the world. Remember that? It's going to be the end of the world. And since then, Mother Nature has pushed us to the edge many times. Well, 2012 was an ending. But an ending of an old wave of consciousness and the beginning of a new wave of consciousness, according to the Mayan calendar and to the indigenous cultures on this planet. And we were told, those of us who have studied Native American spirituality and other types of indigenous spiritual practices, 3 things. There will be dramatic changes. Have we not seen that already? Watch for the wild cards. Well, I think some of them have been in my world. I don't know about you, but I have kind of seen, somebody dealt me a wild card. What am I going to do with this? And the third one is the most important. You cannot choose to not participate as long as you stay in these bodies. I'm going to say that again. There is change going on in our world, and you cannot choose to not participate on whatever level you choose, but you have to participate in this change. And so I encourage you to rise in your consciousness above whatever might be going on and to have a new thought. So know that during this whole time, I'm going to be reminding us of the art of abundance, and I'm going to have an affirmation for us with each one of the 10 steps. Those affirmations will eventually show up on my Facebook page, and they will show up on the church's Facebook page for those of you that are wanting them. But the first one is this. And this will be a cue for the praise and worship team, but I think they will get the cue. I'm going to say each affirmation once, and I'm going to ask you to repeat it with me. If God is for us, who can be against us? Everybody say, Amen. Ready? If God is for us, who can be against us? Everybody say, Amen.
If God is for us, who can be against us? Everybody say amen. And God is for us, who can be against us? Everybody say amen. Amen.
space for quite some time. Know that also if you want to stand up and sing, feel free to do whatever floats your boat and makes you feel happy. Okay, Valerie? Whatever. I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. So, this picture is a picture of an expanded universe. And if you remember, the second principle is that we live in an expanded universe, and so we are part of that expansion with our thoughts. Right? And so for the last 6 months, we've been talking about how to do that. And I believe that this is really the way to do that. And so again, I'm going to say this affirmation once, and then I want you to say it with me, and this is another cue, hint, hint, that the praise and worship team will know what's theirs to do. I live in an ever-changing universe. It is up to me to shine my light. With me? I live in an ever-changing universe. It is up to me to shine my light. That I wrote myself. And I put it around this affirmation of I am accountable for my own consciousness, because that was step 3. If we believe that there is a presence and a power that has created everything that we see, and that that presence and power is always expanding, and we're a part of the expansion, then I need to be careful the way I'm expanding. And so it is up to me to be careful with my own consciousness and the thoughts and the words and the feelings and the stuff. And I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of stuff. You know, I don't defriend people on Facebook, but I've come really close. I don't usually get on people's Facebook page and go off on a rant, but I've got really close. I really have. But you know, the beauty in it all, I have reconnected with a few of my David Lipscomb High School and College people who are now beginning to understand that I'm not as crazy and a witch as I thought I was. And so we're beginning to have some conversations. But it's about being accountable for my consciousness, and the rest of that affirmation is I use my breath to connect to the divine. So I want you to say that with me this morning. I am accountable for my consciousness. I use my breath to connect to the divine. I am accountable for my own consciousness. And the tool I use to remind me is my breath. I just keep looking at Judy going, yeah, you are going to toodle and doodle under here. There you go. Somebody is. My breath teaches me the most about my own life as I live and breathe in this ever-expanding universe, being one with all creation. I first use the process of resetting my breath when I am fearful or stressed or in a difficult situation. I then allow my breath to balance and give myself space and time for my body and my mind and my soul to become one and at peace with this energy that I live and move and have my being in. And then I allow my breath to breathe me. The process of expansion and contraction and expansion, and the process of being ever aware of the space in between. So in this now moment, let's take a moment to reset. So we blow out. And then you can either close your eyes and go within, or find a spot in the room that you want to focus on. And just allow your breath to balance, because it knows exactly how to do that. It's done it over and over and over. And then as your breath balances, make your way to your heart chamber. That space within yourself where you commune with Spirit. And allow that space to help you relax all the muscles in your body. Just be in this moment. And allow your breath to breathe you. And just notice how your body begins to shift as you allow your breath to breathe you. And as you allow this breath to be in charge and to breathe you, it takes you deeper and deeper into that place. That place is your birthright. It connects you to your true self. It connects you to Mother Earth. It connects you to the divine. And as we do this thing together today, remembering where two or more are gathered, there is the Christ consciousness right there. And so we inhale together and we exhale together and we experience oneness together. We experience holiness together. We connect to the divine together. In the silence. In the silence. and I use my breath to connect to the divine. My breath reminds me of my holiness. And as I begin to come back from this time in this place, I remember this moment. I will forever remember this time. And I will remember this place. And as I go out into the world today, my remembering will assist me in my next steps, in my next actions, because only goodness will come from me. Doesn't that feel good? To know that all you really have to do is to drop into that place and feel your holiness. Even though some of us have been told that we're not holy. Lowly worms, such a wretch am I, but we really are holy. And when I come from that place, only goodness comes out of that place. So does that look familiar?
Yes.
For those of you that have never been a part of that, that is a picture of Nashville Chooses Peace Circle. That was the last one we did here on the grounds. And the next point in living an abundant life is to place your focus on something so laserly that nothing else can happen. And so the words that I put up there are 3 little simple words. But then I've got something else to share with you before we sing. We choose peace. Say that with me.
We choose peace.
And that sounds so sweet and nice in here. And as I've said many Sunday mornings, look across the room because there's probably somebody in here that you haven't always chosen peace with. And if it's hard in here, and we're all trying to do the same thing, think about what it's like when you get out of here and get in your car and drive. And Dan's behind you, honking. Dan did that one Sunday morning. I was like, well, does he even know this is me? So I pulled up to the side and let him rip by. And I think Jill told him, that was Denise. Whatever. I drive like an old woman, so just know that's just me. So here is a place that I felt like I needed to share some things and know that a lot of what I've got, I've written because I wanted to make sure that my words came out exactly the way I wanted them to. This particular affirmation is one that you have sung and said so many times. And in this now moment, it is as important as anything else in our lives right now. Can you hear that? Now, peace can look many ways, and sometimes getting there can be really chaotic. And sometimes creating peace means I have to speak up in a way that it doesn't sound peaceful. I see my sister Deb nodding, because we've both had to do that lately. But it gives us the opportunity to create a more peaceful life in the future. And when you get down to the lowest common denominator, isn't that what all of us really want? Peace in our lives. Isn't that what we're all striving for ourselves, for our families, for our friends? So last week, a friend of mine that I don't get to see very often, especially right now, asked me to watch a movie. My friend's name is Connie Florence. She's a jazz singer in town. You may know her. And she asked me if I would watch The Uncomfortable Truth. I had heard about it many times, but I had just never taken the time to watch it. And I was at the river, and I thought, yeah, I can do this. I need to watch it at least 3 or 4 more times to take it all in. Know that it's on Amazon Prime. Many things struck me and caused me to question everything that's going on in our world today. Everything. But one of the quotes, and see, I'm even snorting. I can't even read this without snorting. One of the quotes that I continue to take with me was from Lou Von Brown. He was raised in Mississippi. And he grew up in a really tough and angry place. And he got angrier and angrier as a teenager, because the city was segregated. And there were many things that he was not allowed to do because he was black. So one day, Lou Von and his friend Jimmy Travis got really, really angry, and they walked into a Woolworth's department store, and they sat down at the counter, and they asked for service, and they were arrested very quickly. His quote in the movie was, "People who claim to be of good conscience have to get pissed right now to turn this thing around." I want you to hear him again, because that was the first time I'd ever heard it that succinctly. I've heard it kind of from Ian and Fuzz that way, but you know, we all want to be, and some of us have to move beyond that and say, this is not right.
Yes.
That's right. That's exactly.
So he said, people who claim to be of good conscience, wouldn't we say we do, have to get pissed to turn this around.
Yes.
And he also would say that your pissiness has to be so laser focused, and that's my word, not his, your pissiness has to be so laser focused that it literally burns right through the bullshit.
Yes.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Burns right through it. So choose your words wisely, because that may be the only time they listen to you.
We're not monetized.
And then they may not listen to you again, but then eventually they'll come back and go, huh. I had a woman who has been very negative about me that the other day I wrote about this, and then yesterday on Facebook she said and posted to me, Denise Jurgens said I had to get mad first. And so here's all the list of the things I'm mad about.
Well,
And I went, oh, and she's a big old Church of Christer. Yay! I was thrilled. Isn't that what he and Jimmy did through their actions? So as we prepare for this next affirmation and reading it, I want you to contemplate again, what are you the most pissed about right now? And do you understand that you can choose peace by being pissed and to speak out that that is not okay? Can you feel that?
yes.
And you don't have to be ugly, and you don't have to cuss somebody out, you don't have to bop them in the head. But you can say, no more of this. No more. That, my friends, is choosing peace. To just go to the Woolworths counter may not be yours to do. But I'm just asking that we ask that other people be treated the same. And there's literally no way for every one of us and all the people we know and to love to live an abundant life without being able to have peace. There's none.
Exactly.
And his actions might not be yours, but what would yours be? So the first thing I'm doing is asking my sister Deb Moore to come to the stage. And most of you that have been here for a while have known that there's something hanging right there. And you wonder, what is that? And some of you may have gone up there and said, wonder what all that is. But my sister Deb wrote a peace proclamation for this church years ago when we first started Nashville Chooses Peace. And I want her to read it today.
May I say one
You
additional
may say
sentence?
whatever you want. Make sure your mic is on.
I want to say one additional sentence.
Go
to
right
what you've
ahead.
said, which is church, baby. That's church right there. I feel morally bound to use my privilege to speak hard truths that may pave the path of peace for another.
Yes.
So don't get on my Facebook page unless you want to hear it.
That's church.
Peace proclamation. I'm gonna say this.
Okay. Do whatever you need to do, or do you need me to hold it
No,
for you?
it's good right there.
Okay, cool.
From this day forward, this land and these people belong to the way of peace. The way of peace is the way of inclusion. Labels, politics, religion, race, gender, and all of the ways of division must be set aside. Peace will come when we look into each other's eyes and have a single thought: brother, sister. The way of peace is the way of love. Love for all humanity. Love for our planet. Love for ourselves. Love does not require agreement. It only requires willingness. Peace will come when we truly love one another. The way of peace is possible. We can heal division. We can soothe anger. We can let go of yesterday and embrace peace today. Peace will come when we believe it can. We plant this intention and set our hearts in this direction. From this day forward, this land and these people belong to the way of peace.
And so I called the choir up here to sing this amazing song, and you probably are going to want to sing it with us. This was kind of our anthem for quite some time. moment to congratulate that woman over there, because that's one of her songs. We're singing mostly. Deb, you and Nikki just need to stay up there. I'm assuming she's going to help with this, but she will. You will. Okay. So as I said, most of all the music we're doing today is Dr. Judy's. And so you all know that we've collaborated together for over 20 years to create services. And she said, I want to do this song. I was like, how cool is that? Because if you look, you see he's an African-American man who works in the realm of New Thought music and writes amazing New Thought songs. If you ever get a chance to hear him, he's wonderful. If you ever get a chance to buy his music or download it, I'm sure he would be thrilled. His name is Eddie Watkins. And we would be amiss to not find a place for this song because it has meant so much to all of us. This song was written by a person that was born in Detroit, Michigan. And in the beginning had a really hard time getting started. You can only imagine. But he today is a renowned seasoned musician, songwriter, arranger, and producer of Black New Thought music. Woo! So you're going to feel that flair in here. It's like there's a little bit of different thing, isn't it, Deb? Yep. He lives in Orlando, Florida. He's known for his music. Google him. And this song speaks so well of living in the flow. So I want you to affirm with me, I am the place where God shows up. Ready? I am the place where God shows up. And I also tell you that the other reason I was so excited that Judy chose this song is because I get to hear my sister Deb rock out.
Where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come? Living this thing called life. Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have the strength to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? And will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone. There's nothing I have to do on my own. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes.
this next picture, let me tell you, we were probably about 15 at the time. At least.
Do babies.
There are a few of you who were actually there. This was in 1999. This was a Holy Union service before you could actually get married that Patricia Ryder held for Judy and I in her backyard. It was hot as hell. It was in the middle of July. We all sweated for days after it was over with. And we danced for hours when it was over with. And all I remember is when we finally got away from there, I was peeling clothes off me. That was probably good for her, but oh well, this is the last service, I can just say.
Joy.
But this goes with this affirmation, and then I've got to tell you a little bit about it. Because Dennis Merritt Jones says you have to live a passionate life if you're going to be abundant. So when I live a passionate life, the beauty of everything overwhelms me. I want you to say that with me, and I'm going to talk about it for just a moment. Andrea, you remember that day? Andrea made the cake. It was gorgeous. When I live a passionate life, say that with me.
When I live a passionate life,
the beauty of everything overwhelms me.
the beauty of everything overwhelms me.
So, I'm not going to tell you the way Judy and I got together. I've told that story many, many times, but yes, it happened in a practice room at the School for the Blind, and first time I ever heard her play, and she heard me sing, and it was like some kind of vortex happened in that room, and then for the next year, we would not look at each other. And I cried a lot. Because I was married to someone that I dearly still love, but we just were on totally different wavelengths. The father of my sons. And I had been in counseling with Gervais Phillips, who had told me, because I said, is there people that really are your soulmates out there? Because, you know, he had already told me, Denise, you're going to be a unity minister. And I'm like, well, this man ain't going to go for that. And I got babies. What am I supposed to do? So then I met her, and I was like, "Ooh, Lord." And I don't know how to operate one of those. And you still can't operate one of those. But what became very obvious to us, and to the people that were closest to us, was that the music brought us together. You see, some of you may not know that I was trained to be an opera singer. That I was courted by Juilliard to go there to school. They had a full ride for me to do that, and my parents refused to let me go. And so I married a nice little Christian man and settled down and was miserable for 5 years. And he beat me almost every day of those 5 years. Then moved forward a little while, and I found myself a younger person who was blind to marry. Yay, me. Because my therapist said, you can get away from him. He can't hurt you because you can run. It's like, okay. But then I met this woman. And every time we performed together, there was something magical that happened, and I couldn't explain that. Couldn't explain it. I do know that the first time I got her to come and play for this church, that was when Gervais and Patricia were both here, and know that I was much closer to Gervais than I ever was to Patricia. I'll just say that out loud right now. But Gervais said to her, you know, we really want you to come and play on Sunday morning. And she said, I ain't coming every Sunday morning anywhere to anybody's church. And Gervais winked at me and said, so fast forward a little while, because she started writing music that we started doing, and it was wonderful. And we put together a choir that was bigger than anything you can imagine, right, Deb? Huge. But she decided, actually Deb and I decided that she needed to record a CD of just her playing music. Which she has out there, Prayer Circle CD. But on it there's a cut 1 or 2 cuts of me singing some things. And the first time that Gervais ever heard this song, he looked at me and he said, "She wrote that for you." And I said, "Yeah, probably so." And so, Deb, which mic have you been using? Because I know you don't care if I slobber on yours. I want you to affirm the affirmation with me one more time. And then I'm going to attempt to do this song. She wrote this at a time when my opera voice was much better than it is right this moment, I promise you. And I got her to lower it a little bit. So affirm with me one more time. I will say a piece and you say a piece after me. When I live a passionate life,
When I live a passionate life,
the beauty of everything overwhelms me.
the beauty of everything overwhelms me. I've been searching in all the wrong places, longing for peace of mind, trying to fill empty spaces, simply marking time. Then a prayer was answered, and I'll never be the same again. My soul is awaking, new dreams I'm chasing, life for me begins, and I'm overwhelmed with all I feel. I'm overwhelmed with something so real. Sometimes it takes my breath away. It seems my heart will overflow with a joy that continues to grow. I found the love that's in my heart to stay. There is a power within me that I've never known before. Just when it seemed fate had closed every window, Spirit opened a door. Overwhelmed with all I feel, I'm overwhelmed with something so real. Sometimes it takes my breath away. It seems my heart will overflow with a joy that continues to grow. I found a love that's in my heart to stay. I found a love that's in my heart to stay. Now I gotta put my microphone back together. Maybe I'll just hold mine. So, the thing I've never said here,
and I talked earlier, I'm going to eventually write a book, is that when Judy and I got together, there were a lot of people that didn't like that. Unity Church. No. We're going to have to do something. And people left and got mad because they didn't want us to be together. I don't know what that was about. Some of them wanted to be with her instead of me being with her. That was that right, Deb?
The other way around.
I don't know about that. I told you they don't want my high maintenance. So, the other thing I will tell you about that time, and Deb could probably tell you more than I could, because we went into a studio one afternoon and Judy did all of her music, and I sang 2 songs, and everything we did was on the first take. Didn't take anymore. They didn't have to do anything to it. They didn't have to mix it. They didn't have to do a thing. It just was one take. And that doesn't happen very often. But it was because Holy Spirit brought us together for that reason, to do music here with this group of people. So, we're at a place in a moment where I'm going to call the choir up here. And so it doesn't surprise me, and it shouldn't surprise you, that Dennis Merritt Jones said, you know, you have to be blessed, and to know you're blessed, and to appreciate life, to even have an abundant life. And so this affirmation, I am so very thankful, incredibly grateful, unbelievably blessed. Now, I'm going to say that again, and you'll do better unbelievably than I did. But I'm going to say it one more time, and then I want you to say it 3 times in a row, because I want you to feel that. You know, many times we have said, write gratitude journals and do all that, and that's wonderful. And if you don't feel it, I can write all kind of lists and say, I'm thankful for my water. And yay, Rod Tootie for that. So I have to know it. So again, I'm going to say this one more time, and then you're going to say it 3 times with me. I am so very thankful, incredibly grateful, and unbelievably blessed. Ready? I am so very thankful, incredibly grateful, and unbelievably blessed. I am so very thankful, incredibly grateful, and unbelievably blessed. Once more, I am so very thankful, incredibly grateful, and unbelievably blessed. Nikki and voices.
Gonna sing about the love in my heart. I'm gonna sing about the love in my heart. I'm gonna sing about the love in my heart. I'm gonna sing about love and give God the glory. Oh yeah. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and pray. Connect to the Holy Spirit every day. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and shout. Give God the glory. I'm gonna sing about the joy in my heart. I'm gonna sing about the joy in my heart. I'm gonna sing about the joy in my heart. I'm gonna sing about joy and give God the glory. Oh yeah. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and pray. Connect to the Holy Spirit every day. I'm gonna walk and talk and sing and shout. Give God the glory.
the stuff I want to say. Some of it's a little bit tiny, lengthy. So if you all get tired, scroochy, roochy, share a seat with somebody or do something, I know that won't be 6 feet away, but you and Nikki could put your up if you wanted to. So this next picture, most of you know who that is. So when I know I'm blessed, what better way to show that blessing than to be of service? Service to those who might be struggling in our world today. Some of you may be reading some of my morning writings, and one of the things I have written a lot about lately is our tributes to Enoch Fuzz. And I want to read you something that came from my Facebook post right now. The first time I attended Corinthian Missionary Baptist Church was on a Wednesday, midday, midweek worship service. And I was blown away, totally. I'm not exaggerating. Blown away, and I've seen a lot. But the biggest thing that I was blown away with is that there was so much diversity, and I'll explain that in a minute, but everybody was there for one thing and one thing only, to experience God together. That was it. The organ played, the choir sang, Enoch sang for hours, it seemed. Other people sang. Some woman just got up in the middle of the service and decided she was going to break into song, and everybody just thought, yay, that's good. And I was sitting there thinking, how many more hours am I going to be here? But what I didn't tell you is there were students from TSU. There were teachers, professors from TSU there. There were members of the Metro Council there. Our Mayor Cooper, who is the mayor now, was there that day. I remember vividly. There were members of the Sheriff's Department there, and Darren Hall was there, and there were members of Harpeth Hills Church of Christ. I'm going to say that again. Harpeth Hills Church of Christ. I was like, I knew some of those people. I was like, how did you get over here? There was so much diversity in the room on so many levels, and everybody was worshiping and celebrating together, and it was amazing, and I had never experienced anything like that. People stood up and clapped and shouted, and as I said, one woman just broke out in song and jumped up in the pew and started singing, and everybody was okay with that, and was like, well, this is cool. It was beyond titles or creeds or right and wrong or any kind of religious dogma. And during those several hours, and I promise you it was several hours and nobody got upset, it was several hours, it touched a place within me that had been hidden for years. And I thank Enoch from the bottom of my heart for introducing me into that culture. And introducing me to something I hope won't offend you, but to Black Jesus. I'm going to say that again. I want you to hear it. Black Jesus. There's a difference. We got a sweet little Jesus with a lamb and blue eyes and blonde hair, and that ain't it. I can promise you it ain't it. Because Black Jesus cares about the mother who works 3 jobs and has to put food on the table for her babies.
Yeah, that's right.
And the father who has to wait out in the cold and the rain to catch a bus to get to his job. And he cares about those who can't pay their light bill and water bill, and he cares about those who are addicted to drugs and alcohol, and he cares about the families of those that worry about those that are addicted, that are in pain because of the addiction, and he cares about those people who are seeking medical care and can't get it because they don't have any insurance. And he cares about those people waiting in lines to receive their box of food and hoping that it will get them through the week. And he cares about this great man up here who is battling stage 4 lung cancer. And he's in the hospital right now, and he's taking chemotherapy. And if you're a friend of his on Facebook, he sings all the time, praising God all the time, just sings. He's going to get through this thing. And I want him to hear from me right now, Jesus that you introduced me to is right there with you right now, holding your hand. So Reverend Enoch Fuzz, I want to thank you for reminding me that that Jesus is about a simple gospel. Simple. Love and doing for others as you would have them do unto you. That simple gospel, my friend, is about shining a light in the world. And so this is our affirmation. I am a light in this world, helping others find their way. Together.
I am a light in this world, helping others find their way.
There you go. That's your cue.
Our souls are like ships on the sea of life. Sometimes off course we stray, and many times someone has reached for me just before I slipped away. Let me be a light in the darkness. Let me be a light helping others find their way. Let me be a light in the darkness, shining brighter every day. Lean on me and I'll lean on you, whatever we're going through. For all the times that you've been there for me, I'll be there for you. Let me be a light in the darkness. Let me be a light helping others find their way. Let me be a light in the darkness, shining brighter every day. When the storm clouds gather, we've nothing to fear. The power that's within us cannot fail. Hold on a little longer, your faith will get stronger. The day will break, light will prevail. Let me be a light in the darkness. Let me be a light helping others find their way. Let me be a light in the darkness, shining brighter every day. Shining brighter every day, brighter every day.
And you can do that. So, we're getting close. We're at courage and hope. And it probably doesn't surprise any of you that courage would be a big part of living an abundant life. Courage to do what is yours to do. Courage to step across the line when you're called to. But courage to stand up for and with others who need us to do that. And when I'm courageous, I am lifted up above any situation that may be attempting to pull me down. And then I can offer that hope to others in that same situation. You know, if you try to offer hope to someone and you're afraid, it doesn't work. So you got to get unafraid. And so we affirm together, I am not afraid. I live a life of courage and hope. So first, I want you to echo me. I am not afraid.
I am not afraid.
How does that feel? Sometimes you may need to say that several times before you move to the next one. I live a life of courage and hope.
I live a life of courage and hope.
One more time. I am not afraid.
I am not afraid.
I live a life of courage and hope.
I live a life of courage and hope.
And so Voices is going to sing a song that actually Jamie London and Judy Blackwelder wrote together, If I Be Lifted Up. So, boop, boop,
Oh,
boop. It's stuck.
there we go.
There we go. So, here we are at the end. And I know some of you thought that this would never end. And some of you didn't want it to ever end. And some of us have very mixed emotions about what this means. But I would be amiss if I didn't talk about this book because it had such a huge impact on this congregation when we studied it. And a huge impact on our lunch bunch when we read it. And when I saw that Dennis Merritt Jones, the last thing he focused on in his book, he didn't call it a force for good, but it was what he was talking about. That's the deal. We have to become a force for good in the world. It's basic quantum physics. What we focus on grows. We know that. And so, before I say my last little things, and Judy's going to have something to say, I can promise you. And so I will say that if you all want to sit down and come back up here, you can. I don't want you to have to move, but if you're uncomfortable sitting or standing or whatever, you can do whatever you want to do. This is easy peasy. So the affirmation is, I will be a force for good in this world. That's the first part. Go.
I will be a force for good in this world.
And the second part, if you've ever known Judy Blackwelder, that comes out of her mouth all the time. Everything I do affects everyone else.
Everything I do affects everyone else.
So she's going to have you say it again in a moment, but I just want you to hear some of this. I kind of wrote this over this last week. I would be amiss not to thank all the souls who have found their way through the doors of this ministry over the years. Whether it be those of you who started in Patricia and Gervais' living room or moved to the mansion that had no heating or cooling. Think about that. And then finally going to the Upside Down Ark on Lebanon Road. I won't give away all of our secrets, but what fun we had there. All the services, all the music and the food and the celebration. And I all of a sudden remembered the carnival where Judy and Deb Neely tried to teach me how to throw a softball. You remember that? There is a picture of me somewhere with trying to throw a softball like this. That ain't the way you throw a softball, I can promise you. But that's the way a prissy woman does, probably. Remember the Jesus shows, Deb? Believe it or not, we did those. Maundy Thursday, Good Friday. We were off on Saturday. That was a good thing for many reasons. And then Sunday morning service. I remember Voices recording their first CD in that space. And the amazing Miles Wilkinson, who actually played guitar and sang with Anne Murray. So we had a jewel in him. And he did the recording for us. And we recorded the men at one time and the women at one time, and he mixed all that. And if you've ever heard that CD, it's remarkable, and know that there was a place in it that the men were under pitch. And he just, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that he just kind of tweaked them up, and I sat in the studio and went, oh, that's cool. Can you do that to everybody all the time? Just go around and tune people up from the rear. And then we sold that property and we rented at Donaldson Plaza. And we had a big New Thought bookstore with lots of foot traffic, and B and Les Leff ran that bookstore for years, introducing people to a new way of thinking and being. Which brought me to probably one of my favorite remembrances of that place that most of you may not know. But there was a picture of us in the Nashville scene one time. The sign, there was it said Unity Church that the facility had given us. And then above that, and the rooms above that, floor above, was the bartending school. And so a sign said, bartending school, Unity Church.
Use either entrance.
And it was really a great thing, excuse me for some of you who don't partake, but Once every other week, the bartending school needed volunteers to sample drinks. And so our administrator and I would call in somebody to answer the phones for us, not telling them what we were doing, and go across the hall and sample drinks. It was fun. And say, no, I think you need a little more or something. And I'd like 3 or 4 more of those. Well, one afternoon, I received a call from the school with an apology. And he said, can I come see you? And we were just right across the hall. And I said, well, sure, because our offices were upstairs. And I hadn't seen the Nashville scene, and he brought it into me, and he laid it down, and I started laughing. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were going to be mad. And I said, that is the best free advertising we could have ever had. Because up underneath it, the Nashville scene had said, serving up the Spirit on Sunday morning. I was like, well, how cool is that? We also owned property on Andrew Jackson. I won't get into the politics of all of that. At one point in time, when I first became the minister, we owned 2 pieces of property and rented another one, and I wasn't sure what all that was about, and I won't even get into that, but I'm not a business person, and it made no sense to me, so there you go. But some of you are going to remember the goats that Jane Ramey and Donna Botsford used to feed right over there. And that place is now a retirement community, assisted living, nursing facility, and Judy and I have a very good friend that lives there from Leadership Donaldson Hermitage, and her home is delightful. So then we found a space in the heart of the square of Old Hickory called 515. Doesn't that sound posh? Wonderful. And we had spaces for offices, and we had a big enough room to have services, and we would love it, love it, love it, for about a year. And then all of a sudden, Dave and Valerie came in and said, we found this new property and you need to go see it. But we'd only been there 1 year. So we came and visited it, and actually the young people, the youth, coerced us into buying this. They had all kinds of space upstairs, and they had all kinds of grounds to play on. And it was perfect. And you know, we have laughed and loved and learned together, and we've held many weddings here. And christenings, Kedrick, memorial services, coffee houses, concerts, Native American circles. I mean, who would have thought that we would have had Chief Arville here?
Yes.
Healing events, Nashville Chooses Place. This Nashville Chooses Peace, this place has served us so well. And Judy and I today feel like a proud mama and daddy. That it's time to let the kids go and grow and fly. And we really need to pull back and focus on ourselves. And my parents, Judy's mother has been dead now for 3 years. It's hard for us to believe that. And my parents are 88, and they need our attention. And I have 2 beautiful sons and their wives, 2 gorgeous grandkids. And that's going to be our focus for quite some time once we unpack all the boxes that Judy still needs to go through. And there are lots. And I would be remiss to not say that I love every one of you in this room. And I love all of you that are out there watching. And I love all the people that have ever come through these doors or any of the other doors we've ever had. And I love the ones that are no longer in the body, but they still reach out to us. Jody Warlick laughs all the time. I smell Ken Goin cigarette smoke every time I come in here, and he giggles. And all the musicians who've played here, and the singers who've performed here, and the speakers who have spoken here. Judy and I received an amazing letter from Paula Languth Ryan, who helped us with prosperity many, many years ago with the board of this church. And she wrote us just the most amazing letter about what we had meant to her. And so I'm going to ask Judy to come and talk about whatever she needs to talk about. And about us being a force for good.
So, what an amazing, incredible joyous, life lessons learned experience this has been. And how blessed I am to have had the opportunity to serve this community for 20 plus years. That almost seems impossible. And I was one of those people, like some of you all here and some people watching on live streaming, that had said, church, nah, had enough of that. It's not real. And then I found real. I found real.
Well, I helped him.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And the other blessing, another blessing, to be able to create these services with this amazing, enlightened speaker with what I always say has the voice of an angel that spoke to me has been tremendous. And then I think about all the musicians and the vocalists, both from within this congregation and those who have come here, some of Nashville's and the world's finest. And it's just, as I contemplate the opportunity that I have had to serve, I have to step back and go, how has my soul been so fed? Because the music, you know, how many songs have we sung today and we're not done? So my gratitude list is eternal. It is endless. And to those of you in this room and to those of those watching, I carry you from this place in my heart, and so many wonderful memories that too many to even talk about. And you know, the best thing about all of it is, and we're going to sing a song about it in a minute, the common ground that we stand on, whether it always looks the same, whether we say it the same way, sing it the same way, whether we model it in our own personal lives the same way. I can truly say, and I am so proud of the fact that we became a spiritual community and have carried on that spiritual community, carried out the tradition of making a difference in this community and in our world. And isn't that what it's all about? Yes. So, go back to the affirmation. Say it with me. I will be a force for good in this world. Everything I do affects everyone else.
a few weeks ago, I added this affirmation because I felt very strongly about it. This congregation has had many ups and downs around prosperity, and some of it has been because we don't really get what it is. And so this affirmation sometimes pushes people's buttons. But again, I have a very dear friend out in the world. Her name is Jennifer McCoy, and she said when she was a child, her goal was to be rich so that she could give back to others.
Yes.
So she could be a philanthropist. And I thought, duh, there you go. So I'm going to say this once, and I want you to listen to it and take it in, and then I want you to say it with me. I am open to receiving floods of financial abundance with ease so that I may be able to give back even more to the world around me. Ready? I am open to receiving floods of financial abundance with ease so that I may be able to give back even more to the world around me. And so those of you that are here today, you can give your floods of abundance to Charlotte because she's over there ready to receive. But you can also go online for tithes and donations and love offerings. And I want us to do the prayer of protection. Are you ready? The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And know that we're going to end with two songs. One slow, one fast. One for Kathy Benson, because this one says it all. And then you know what the other one is.
morning when we finished that, I would turn to him and we would look at each other and go, by God.